Some production.
Yeah, man. How you doing? Gumbolaya, Ramblin. I'm gonna do another one on a similar topic. I did a video talking about choosing who you are, choosing who you want to be, right? Choosing how you respond instead of reacting. I think that's important. Talk a little bit more. I want to talk about why that choice changes your life. Obviously, choosing who you want to be is important. Determining how you make your decisions and things like that. But it changes the life you experience, which changes how you feel. So, what does that mean? Well, there are a lot of people I know who have been taught how they should be, right? You know, we're taught by elders and community and culture how to behave, what a good person does, right, versus what a bad person does, and don't do the bad, do the good, right? Makes sense. However, I think a particular area of thought on that is authenticity, right? It's a hot button issue. People talk about, not hot button, but it's a popular conversation, particularly within the last, 10 or so years, because living your life and interacting through social media has become so much more of a normal thing. And particularly for younger ones, like they were born into a world where social media was already normal, right? And so what I've seen, and some of you might have seen this as well, is you see different versions of a person, like on purpose, right? We all have to, code switch. Like if you have Black people in your life, you might hear them talk about code switching. We all have a work self, and well, not all of us, most of us have a work self. You have a friends and family self, maybe a social self, right? Those who are like self-employed or entrepreneurial might have a business self, which is kind of work, but a bit different. You know what I mean? I don't know why I did that move. But what you do see more than just those things, which kind of everybody has those versions. When you go to work, you want to be professional in a professional setting. When you go see grandma and them, right? You're not acting the same way, unless your grandma turn up or whatever. So you have the different appropriate behaviors, but I'm talking about a completely different self, right? Where somebody and you are a follower of their social page or whatever, or maybe you find it, right? You know this person, you find it and you're like, yo, that's... And I've seen it recently. I'm going to try to be as vague as possible because I don't want to disrespect somebody's privacy. But I've seen it recently in a very disturbing situation where I am close friends with some people who were in a relationship, were in a relationship. And I began speaking with them, counseling them a bit, being someone they could confide in within their relationship, right? They both would talk to me together, separately, whatever. And I'm just being a friend who's learned some stuff and offering this stuff, right? Just like I'm doing right here, right? So they talk to me, we're going through, and there's months of conversations and whatever, right? So little by little, one of them starts to talk about what they're going through online. And I am then talking more to the other one, the non-public one, because of the difference between who the public one is presenting to everyone else versus what the public one is doing in real life, right? So when I'm in conversation with the two of them, it's very difficult to understand where the public person's head is, because I'm seeing a very different person when we're talking, and the perspective I'm getting from the private one. I don't think there's a lot of dishonesty going, but that does happen. But even the public one, when they're talking to me, is one way, and then on social media, they're a different way. And that's right. Well, the inherent problem with that is when it's a conscious decision to create a character for a purpose, like if your brand is lifestyle and a particular item. For example, I have a close friend who has just learned a lot about how to choose the right fit for bras or whatever. And so a lot of her posts are about, this is what you want to look for. You want to size it like this, and you want something that gives you this kind of support. Like, that's her brand, right? So obviously she's not walking around with her shirt off, right? But that intention is specific to what she is doing with her business online or whatever. I'm talking about the personal differences, not branding, or even an entertainer, for example. Like, you might have some actor friends who are able to find work being this kind of character, so they want to exemplify that. Or even artists, right? Music artists or whatever, their public persona might be blank, but in their private life, they are not blank, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, for real, a different personality privately versus publicly, and both are supposed to be the real person. Well, the conflict between the two is in this couple that I was referring to, the private one struggles with understanding how to find a working and sustainable life with the public one, because the public one's behavior and presentation in private and in public is erratic and irrational and very confusing. I mean, to me as well, but that is kind of the core of what they're dealing with. So making a decision for who you are, how you treat people, how you want to live your life is not only necessary for yourself to I don't know if propagate is the right word, but to build the type of life that you want. It's also necessary, and hear this is my point. It's also necessary so that people can get to know you, right? For those you want in your life, for the people that you want to stay in your life, they are building a consciousness of who you are. We all change and we grow, but the core of a person remains constant, right? A kind person is usually kind for life. Sometimes people go through trauma or experiences where, might be a little discouraged and weary at times, but in general, they will return back to a center, given love and support and help and guidance and yada, 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 right? So if you are rageful and offensive and harsh and mean in private, but you're able to turn on gentleness and kindness and positivity and sunshiny and rainbows for everybody else, well, someone that's in your life that is trying to make concession to find out how to live with you, that's going to look to them like, if you're able to do that for them, then why are you choosing not to do it for me? Why are you choosing to give the public face versus the private face? So my intention is to explain that decision of self is important, not only for yourself and to build the life you want, but it also is important to the people that you want to be a part of that building, right? And honestly, in my experience, I would love to know if any of you agree or disagree with this. In my experience, there is very little in life that's not people. Very little. And several of the people that I know who do not invest much in relationship and people, their lives are a mess. It's a mess. They have, a lot of them are very successful. They have incredible achievements and all this type of stuff. And some of them have families, but they are a mess because their priority is investing in things that don't teach them how to grow as a person. It teaches them how to grow in the things that people will experience from them or with them, but not of them. Maybe that makes sense. Not everybody, but a lot of folk. And I have several people in mind right now that I'm thinking about. And I want to be very clear. It's not a judgment. It's more so thinking about if what you want is to live in peace and in harmony with those you love and want to be around, then you have to approach life in a way that will allow them to feel positive about you being in their life, right? And if that's not what you want, you do what you want. I am one of those people where the people in my life matter so much more to me than anything else. Sometimes it causes problems for me. That's one of the areas I'm learning and growing in. But people matter very much to me. I think I said that in the very first episode we were talking about. I can't even remember what my topic was in the first one, but holiday check-in, I think, is check on folk. I think people matter to me. But what I've learned in that pursuit of connection, a loved one helped me realize that I am very much driven by connection. And it was just an odd way to find out, but I'm very grateful that it went down because this person kind of nailed something that really is a core motivation for me. And me knowing that has helped me understand myself a lot better. It's cleared up a lot of things that were confusing to me, right? And I've been able to learn the healthy aspects of that part of my core. And I've also been able to address and understand when it becomes unhealthy. And that still makes me a better person. So you know who you are, and I'm grateful. I know it was super weird, but I'm grateful and I love you, right? So your decision of how you want to be, how you want to live, how you speak to people, how you treat people, not only affects your efforts in building your life, but the core of that building is usually the people in your life. And for those who don't have that priority in place at the moment, I really think you'll eventually get there. You'll eventually get to a point to where you might get everything you want, and it won't be enough. Because having everything and having nobody around you that loves you for you will make you very, paranoid that the people around you are just trying to get your stuff, because all you care about is your stuff. You know what I mean? If you eventually get to a point to where you're CEO of the earth, then everybody's trying to get your job because all that matters to you is that position. So then everybody that's nice to you and everybody that does something kind for you is only doing it because they want to get your job, or they want to butter you up so that you'll promote them close to you, or they want to butter you up because when you retire, you want them to give them your job, or, whatever. Like if your focus is on something that is separate from the relationship dynamics to live your life, I'm not 80 years old, so I don't have a whole lifetime of experience. I've just never seen anything matter more than who you're living your life with. I've never seen it. Now I've never been super rich, so maybe I don't know that, riches and wealth matter more than people once you hit a certain level of riches and wealth. I have no desire for that. Definitely like more money, some stuff I want to get. And I'd like to take a lot of financial burden off my wife. You know what I'm saying? But not if it comes at the expense of hurting people and ostracizing people I care about. It's not worth it. So your decision of self not only directly relates to how you can form your life, but it also makes the impression on other people for them to be able to understand who you are. Like the example between the private person and the public person who's really hurting someone that they love and care about because they have not come to terms with the fact that choosing to treat strangers better than someone in your family is very hurtful to the person in your family, because they're like, yo, you can treat me better if you see me like them, but you giving me the worst. And sometimes that does happen. One of a very interesting thing I learned, my therapist mentioned this. I have a really great therapist. He's great. He's a great teacher. Obviously he's a great listener. I guess not all therapists are great listener, but my therapist is a great listener. And he taught me something that I didn't know before. And that is, it's best exemplified with children of divorced parents, right? So you have a couple, their relationship doesn't work, they get divorced, right? If they have children, it is very common for the children to behave worse when they are with the parent that has custody versus when they are with the parent that does not have custody, that they see much less. The reason is, for a child, their emotional center has a lot more vulnerability than an adult, because they haven't, been kind of beaten down by the hardships of life to where you build up walls and you get guarded and whatnot. Children are much more expressive and open to expressing until they go through trauma, and they, then they learn to compartmentalize, and, like we all do. Well, hopefully not that we do, but so their behavior can often be worse with the constant present parent than with the parent who they only see, on weekends or whatever the visitation arrangement might be, because the child, not consciously, but subconsciously and intimately, in the heart space, knows that they are safe to express the hurt and pain they are dealing with the stable, present, probably not going to abandon them parent, right? So they're able to open up and let all the hurt and the pain and the frustration out, which comes out as bad behavior, right? With the parent that they believe will not leave. But the parent who isn't around as much, even though that other parent might love them and be, a wonderful parent, because the child doesn't see the other parent as much, to them, that other parent is almost gone. So their time with the only visitation parent, meaning the parent that only has visitation, that's not living at home, their time with them, they don't want to mess it up because they don't want to lose that other parent. So the behavior is better with the quote unquote distant parent and much worse with the present, stable, continuous parent. I didn't know that. Hurt people hurt people. Hurt children behave out of hurt. And my therapist was explaining it to me in terms of how people can give loved ones their worst behavior. Tough stuff, right? I was talking about, I've explained before, I have a history of some stuff happening in my life. And that was very helpful. It's very helpful to understand why someone close to you can be hurtful, right? I've gone through some stuff with some close ones and some friends and stuff, and some hurt in the heart place, right? So when you have someone whose behavior is worse than even they themselves choose, you have to make your decisions. But remember, hurt people hurt people. You can choose to help someone with their hurt, it might get better. You know what I mean? If you can show somebody that at their worst, you're not going to leave them or abandon them, things can get better. But in terms of who you are and how you behave, you have to make a decision. How worse is your worse? How bad is your bad? A great example that my pastor is an expert in relationship dynamics and stuff. That's a lot of how I've learned so much. I mean, I've learned a lot before I was under his tutelage, but I've learned so much. My pastor is a Pastor Donald Bell. He's amazing. But one of the things he talked about in a dating seminar was how important it is to notice people's behavior up front when you're starting to date somebody, because usually someone is giving you what they consider to be their best. And he loves to give the example, if you go out with somebody early on in the relationship and they're treating a server at a restaurant like garbage, right? You got to think, this person is trying to impress me more than likely. If they're here, there's some desire, even if it's just, they're trying to get some physicals happening, they're still trying to charm you in some kind of way, right? And if their best is insulting somebody and being cruel and mean to a person that might have made a mistake or whatever, how are they going to treat you? Choosing who you are shows people who you are. Big deal, man. It's a big deal. And mature people pay attention. Everybody's not clueless to what's behind your behavior. So you better choose carefully, because you might push away somebody that you really do want in your life. And as I mentioned before, I'm very familiar with how many people are on this, if it don't serve me, I don't need it in my life. And, if that's your path, that's your path. That's not me. There's people in my life that I love, and I want to learn how to act right and how to be a good person so that they don't need to protect themselves from me. I want to be loving. Also, it's my acceptance of God's will. Like, God wants us to love each other. Like, that's also very important. I want to be loving because I believe in the power of love. I believe it. I've seen it in my life. I've seen it manifest into things that I could not have controlled or created for myself. I've seen it. And I've experienced it, and my life, I believe, benefits tremendously from my decision to choose love over self, and choose love over vengeance, and choose love over fairness, and choose love over, over a lot of things that, people will kind of drop the hatchet. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's hard and it hurts or whatever, but in general, it's better. So make a choice. Consider it. Think about it. Think about who you want to be. Think about how you want to treat people. Think about how you want someone in your life to be treated. Because if they're in your life and you love them, what do you think they want? Now, obviously, you always need to be yourself. And if somebody needs you to be somebody else, we gotta have a conversation about what it means to be yourself. And we have to discuss how we connect. But in terms of making your decision about who you're going to be, how you're going to treat people, I wanted to do this, kind of like a follow-up, because I think this is a very important topic. I do. For those of you that have found some value in how I share my heart, I appreciate you letting me know, and because it's encouraging to know, and it helps me. Simply Safe is on home. It's encouraging to me to experience that benefit, to kind of know that, that I'm helping somebody. I want to be a helpful person. But this is a big one. You gotta choose who you are. If you do not choose who you are, it's very likely that the carelessness of not making that decision is what will kind of reign true. That's what will come out. So you got to choose who you want to be. You want to choose how you treat people. You want to choose how you talk to people. You want to choose how you respond. Boundaries are important. How you communicate them is also important. Why you have a boundary, you choose to share that or not. But when someone crosses it, there are a lot of ways you can address that matter. And not all of them will give you the benefit of why you chose to share, right? Somebody offends you and you break them down verbally and make them feel like garbage. That's not going to help your relationship. Doesn't mean you were wrong in wanting to identify a boundary, but if you do harm, people aren't going to want to feel harmed indefinitely. They're going to want to escape. That's the coercive path. And once the foot is off the neck, they're going to rebel and get back at you, or they're going to escape, right? Lastly, I remember talking to a friend of mine who is married, and him and his wife are going through some really difficult adjustments in getting to know each other. And the relationship dynamic they have is often verbal battles where they're trying to win the argument. And I don't know her as well. I know him. I don't talk to her a lot. I know him. But I said to him something that I think has made a positive difference in a lot of people's marriages, and especially in mine. Really, really resist the urge to try to win an argument. Here's why. In order for a winner to be definite, there has to be a definite loser, right? In a boxing match, or, an opponent type of situation, if someone is the winner, someone's the loser, right? If you continuously win in a relationship, you are making the other person continuously feel like a loser. If you have no room in your life to accept and acknowledge the times where you are wrong, you make them feel like a loser, whether they are or not, because sometimes people are wrong, but there's a whole lot of life that ain't right and wrong. A great example is children. A lot of couples are find themselves in a struggle where they didn't talk about children. They didn't talk about whether they want to have children. They didn't talk about how they want to raise children, right? Important. And another couple that I'm friends with, they have different faiths. One has one belief system and the other one has a different belief system. And they went through a very, very difficult time trying to find a shared understanding of how to teach their children about God. It's very serious. But if your only relief in conflict is to win, to feel like you won, you're going to make your partner feel like a loser. Don't nobody want to feel like a loser their whole life? Don't nobody want to feel like a loser at home? Are you kidding me right now? You got to choose, baby. You got to choose. Got to choose. Be grateful for the times where, the sovereign one, whoever you believe to be God, be grateful for the times where it's revealed to you that you have a choice. This is one of them times. I'm making a video about it over here. You can choose. If your mama or your daddy was hurtful and mean and insulting and demeaning and made you feel like garbage, you know how it feels. Don't do that. If you don't know how to not do it, ask somebody. Ask someone, how do I do better with this? Seek wise counsel. For the Christians that are listening to me, it's in the word. Seek wise counsel. If you don't know how to do that, ask someone you think might know. Get your Google on. We Google everything on earth. Google, how do I be a kinder person? How do I speak to people with love? How do I treat people with respect? What does it mean to treat somebody with dignity? Look it up. If you don't know, ask me. And I'll show you the places where I've learned, and I'll give you the quotes that have helped me. I'll show you the scriptures that have helped me. Galatians 5:22, I believe, is the scripture. That's one that helps me. Let me make sure. Galatians 5:22. I want to make sure that's it. There it is. Fruits of the Spirit, baby. Galatians 5:22. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. You got to control yourself. Bye.
If it's my time, then it's my time. Worry about yours, 'cause I got mine. 'Cause I got mine. Worry about yours, 'cause I got mine. 'Cause I got mine. Praise and production.